So we have Mr. Suresh Nadar, Head of IT Department from Dr. Batra's Positive Health Clinic. Welcome to the panel, sir. Over to you with your quick introduction.
So I'm working with Dr. Patras since last 8 years, and overall my IT experience is 25 years. I worked with multiple industry. I started with, as a software developer, and I moved to as a database administrator. Then, airline industry, textile industry, healthcare industry, and I worked with IBM for 3 years. So as a SSO system service lead. So likewise, my industrial experiences is spread across multiple industry. So that's all. Thank you.
Thank you. So we have Mr. Sandeep Kothari, Senior General Manager IT, Head of the Department, Aura Fine Jewelry. Thank you for joining the panel, sir. Over to you for the introduction.
Hi, my name is Sandeep Kothari. I work for Aura Fine Jewelry Private Limited. We are into B2C retail business wherein we deal in real diamond jewelry. I come with 3 decades of experience, predominantly more into retail, and currently I am taking care of the entire digital transformation for our organizations. Work with retail organizations, as I said, and along with that, manufacturing organizations. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. So we have Mr. Vilas Pujari, CIO, Rashi Peripherals. Great, you have joined the panel, sir. Over to you for the introduction.
My name is Vilas Pujari. I work for Rashi Peripherals. Rashi Peripherals is a logistic service provider for large IT multi MNCs, and large setup we have in terms of the warehousing, 50 warehouses across the country, and the offices in Singapore, and multiple places in India. And I work for ACG Associate Capsules Group for a large number of years, about 15 years. And prior to that, I was with International, Grasim, and Gujarat Investment. And of course, I've been earlier a very against the cloud, because and in today also in a way, because it's going to definitely increase the cost. Of course, the advantages are many, where you will be able to expose yourself to large number of countries, and enable your business with the capability which is required in today's.
I absolutely agree. I think for cost benefit analysis and ROI, we need to have a different session for that. So we are going in a reverse engineering manner. I understand. So I'll introduce myself at the end, and then I think we can close the session. So hi everyone, my name is Amay Subhash Lakeshri. I'm Director of Cyber Forensics, Incident Response and Privacy in Ernst & Young. So I have around 13-14 years of learning experience, and it's still going on. And that's all about. So we have today a different topic, like we have set of experts who will actually share their experiences with respect to the performance and the resiliency in a multi-cloud architecture, where we understand all of us are working in a hybrid model and the mobility is in need of an hour, right? So what we'll do, we'll start with understanding with the basic concepts, and then we'll go through the flow of understanding the real life examples as well. So the first question to the panelists are, how to measure the performance, or how the resiliency, what the resiliency means in multi-cloud architecture. So Sandeep, so you want to go first?
Yeah, for us, resilience is, like how your business continuity is there, and how your customers are not impacted. For us, that is the most prior importance, because we are into currently high value real diamond jewelry business. So our volume are low, but value is high. So here for us, resilience is extremely important. Plus, the challenge is that then at that, look at the resilience rather than anything else in the business.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So in my environment, as you rightly said that, the resilience from the speed. Within 4 seconds, the thing is, for me, it is the value for me, it's the volume. So because, at any given point of time, minimum, 200 users will be on my website. So giving the reads and all. So for me, numbers. For 2 weeks, I will lose a huge business loss. So my expectations on, high availability and resilience is very high.
Yeah, from my perspective, resilience is not just about the downtime. Resilience is about the scalability, because it is very difficult for us to estimate the loads, especially in case of customer facing, with the B2C environments. So the resiliency is not only just about the uptime, it's also about the system's ability the cloud's ability to absorb the stress which is put on the system by the end users. And sometimes it may have been planned, it may not have been planned. So how far the system is going to, be resilient enough to absorb some stress, measure the resilience of the system. It could be, you can achieve this by any which means, but ultimately, as far as the customer is concerned, as far as the business is concerned, the cloud has to be resilient to ensure that the continuity is there.
Sure, sir. Absolutely. Moving next phase of the, the job is about defining the strategy of scaling up the business when we are seeing the fluctuating workloads across the multiple clouds, right? So what are the main consideration we should have while designing the strategy?
As you rightly said that, the load, when you are defining any cloud strategy, first, things doing that, what load we want to, what load has to be moved. So in that sense, considering the workload, find out what cloud we will choose, what, resources required. That's where we will plow on that. So that's a key thing. What do you want to, transfer, to the cloud.
Okay, sure. Pujari sir?
Yeah. So to me, how do we kind of design, or how do we kind of look at having certain infrastructure is, of course, depending upon the business scenarios. In a purely B2C environment, probably the strategy could be different. In a manufacturing setup where are a limited business engagement kind of situations where we have the business partners, we have the distributors, we have the dealers. So that environment could be different. So the challenges would come wherein the B2C environment, specifically in handling the seasonality, or in terms of clouds and all. The seasonality are the possible abrupt increases. One, of course, we need to work on technology. Before we work on technology based on our experience, what I would say is that there's a closer engagement with the business in terms of what can make the system to get disturbed. Like, for example, if business is running a campaign and I do not even know that business is running a campaign, so you cannot expect the system to be resilient enough to handle a sudden load without designing the system for that. So the closer engagement with the business is one part of it, wherein we know the possible events that can happen. And once we know that, of course, we will go and design accordingly. But there could be possibilities wherein, without our plan, there could be sudden abrupt, scalability that is required. So that is where the optimal combination of a fixed capacity plus a variable capacity kind of an agreement and understanding with the cloud service providers would be of help.
Absolutely, sir. It is essential to understand a business first and what a business needs, how it runs, right? Like banking somewhere, and Suresh sir was mentioning that they need to respond back with the least RPO, right? And their MDD should be less in that case of disaster as well. That we understand. So business planning is scalability, stress absorption. All these are the essential points when selecting a cloud environment, a multi-cloud environment in that case, and how the workload would be distributed. Saying next, we need to understand there are so many different clouds, right? And of course, the cost also comes into the consideration when we talk about it. It's easy to absorb the term of pay as you go, right? But if the cost is dynamic, it's very difficult to budget it for the particular financial year, right? So I'll take it in a different way from your experience of so many years of, you are dealing with this kind of challenge of budgeting, right? How will you budget this kind of things when you need to have a performance, you need to have a resilience to be maintained, but how will you manage the budget when you're talking about a multi-cloud? Pujari sir, you want to take it first?
So I would look at it like this. One of course, the how do you design the contract with the cloud service providers? What kind of understanding and agreements do we have? As you mentioned in the last when we were discussing the last question, we were discussing one, of course, the nature of business and everything, and second is the part of how the customer behavior will be there, as to how many hits will come, how many transactions will happen. Probably that is unpredictable. So now the contract with the cloud service provider is also the third part. And if we are going for a higher capacity and a higher scalability, naturally the cloud service providers have to provide the capacity to us in advance, and hence there will be charges for that. Unless we plan it well, we will not be able to have any kind of understanding with these providers. The cloud is, it will pay as you go. It's really what is going to be cloud go. I same is the case with the cloud service providers also. They will also want to know what they should provide so that minimum outgo will be from their side. This is a situation where both the customers and the partners have to negotiate as to what is the best solution available. At this point in time, of course, I can say something, but as the technologies are changing in terms of the provisioning of the contractual terms can change. The technology will help us in managing the things better. And today, as I find the situation, the contractual agreements will play more important role than the assumption that the cloud service provider will take care of certain things and leave it to him. Fine. How do you define what is the requirement? That also the cloud service providers have to understand, depending upon the nature of your business, as to whether it is what kind of computing intensity will be there with respect to the requirement of your business.
Absolutely. Yes, sir.
Yeah, see, this budget, when you are talking about that, budget may not be the constraint when the business needs that. For example, see, certain applications need, the flash memory and, this much, we can't compromise on that. It's all based on the business needs. In my environment, that the budget is, based on that need. I mean, the business needs this is RTO, whatever may be. So which one is the best provider can provide that? So go with them and continue with them. So, and as Mr. Pujari rightly said, that the contract, I mean, the negotiation. See, if the management is giving budget, does not be placed just like that. I mean, we should, what is needed, is that, vendor is, right for that long-term business. And, based on his past, things, everything will be considered before going with and spending that budget.
Sure. Sandeep sir, what will you advise to CISOs and CI community on budget?
So what we'll have to do, as I agree with Vilas, that we'll have to look at the contracts. We take a step back also, like we see what is our historical consumption of last 3 years, vis-a-vis what our business plans, or where do we take our business, and then based on that, we plan our budget. And so that, we come a bit to a realistic figure when we are asking if we spend that. A lot of combinations are there. I'm sure they will agree there are quite a few reserve instances you can take where we know that there is a minimum amount of business I am going to do. So that gives us very clear visibility of our spend also. And once we have clarity from business what they are going to do in next 12 months, that becomes a bit easier for us to sign the contracts as well and give the specifics. At least we are close to 80% of our spending.
Sure, sir. Perfect.
One more point here is, this is, when it is already known application. Suppose when I am rolling out new applications, as Mr. Sandeep is saying is right, for example, if I'm rolling out new application, because I don't know what is the volume is needed, what is the business is going to come. In that angle, we'll go with small and, then, how the business is growing based on that, the, decision will be on scaling up, but additional budget, everything will be there.
Absolutely. Moving next, a correlation between budget and what the different angles you guys have talked about. We'll now discuss about the performance, right? Because, of course, your experience has also been in on-prem, right? Where it all started, the era of, networking and things have started. You guys had a different experience in that. And now you only have deploying back it in the cloud or hybrid model. So what advice you will give, or what are the different tips you guys will give when it comes to the optimizing the performance when you have multiple clouds on-prem and hybrid?
Important points that we consider here, more than the cloud infrastructure, performance, it is also the endpoints, which are, the endpoint internet connection. At times, what we find is that always there is a misunderstanding with the users that the server is slow, whereas his own internet connection will be slow. So we'll have to consider that fact. That is one number point. Second point is in a cloud and in on-premise hybrid environments, the integration points are whether it is your connectivity point, we can say, between the cloud and the infrastructure. Those also play important role in that environment. We definitely ignore to properly size it. So what we do is normally whenever there is a problem, then we keep on seeing that. So it is very important to size the connectors and the endpoints and the communication with the customers or with the end users about the possibilities of or the capacities of those. Only then we'll be able to probably, in my experience, the actual cloud infrastructure should not be much of a problem if properly sized. The endpoint and the integration points are the critical points.
Sandeep sir?
See, for me, if you ask, the performance is very subjective. Apart from, yes, technically what I completely agree with Vilas or my colleague Suresh. But see, for a user perspective, if you talk performance, see, if somebody for BMW is also slow and for somebody even Maruti is fast. So how do you measure that and how do you fulfill everybody's requirement? So it's like it's chicken and egg situation for people like us, how to manage that, fulfill the performance or the needs of those particular customers. So we'll have to be very realistic in that phase. We'll have to see what is the industry benchmark. We can go to the external consultants and ask what are the benchmarks related to particular industry. See, you cannot generalize the industry also, that performance should be same across all the industries. So based on our industries, we can take a call that what should be the performance, and then we can take a step ahead and then go ahead with our service provider, asking them about the performance from the infrastructure backend perspective.
Understood. And do you think Sandeep sir, any kind of different assessments would help into that?
Definitely assessments will help. So, assessment may help cross-functional industries as well, where, you have in different tie-ups with them for different type of businesses. So at that point of time, you can do the assessment, how they are doing. I'm purely talking from the functional perspective. And yes, from the technical perspective as well, the assessment will definitely help in selecting the proper infrastructure and giving them the optimum performance to the user and the back office user as well.
So, see here, as Mr. Pujari rightly said that, it's a subjective. I mean, different people will think that, the performance in different angle. So I want to add value to here that one more point is, see, in my, environment, the simple vanilla cloud team work for my website performance, because, my most of the things are, Google, business from that. The response is, less than 2 seconds also okay. I mean, 1 second also okay. So there is no, the benchmark for that. As much, speed, response will be better. So in that case, initially simple vanilla didn't work. Then I went for CDN to scale up that, part. Now, it is reasonably okay. So that's a way, we can't say that, this is a, right performance. Yes, it is industry to industry, environment to environment, sector to sector, it will be right.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I agree with that. And it is essential to define the KPIs, right? And understand what are the risks associated with that. Key risk indicators needs to be defined based on the business angle and the need and the impact towards the client or the B2B, in business to business and B2C as well. And the key controls needs to be defined. And for that, Sandeep sir rightly mentioned. Sandeep sir, you want
and Amay, what happens, performance comes at a cost. So let us understand that also. We should be mindful about that.
Yeah, that's where I kept it after budget. So optimizing performance with this kind of different assessments, understanding KPI, KCI, KRI, and then defining the business goal associated with your vision and the security goals as well, along with that, helps a lot. Moving next, now we have defined strategies. We know how to, which cloud to be or the cloud environment to be opted, and then try to optimize the performance based on KPI, KCI. The another important element would be the monitor, right? That we have so many different hybrid modules, and now who is going to monitor? How it will get monitored? Because AWS will be having some other angle and the skill sets. Azure will be having your Google will be having different skill sets, and your on-prem will be probably having a different skill set. Although there will be a logical combinations into that along with integration. So, Pujari sir, how will you take care of the monitoring? What advice you would like?
See, this would be, of course, one way of monitoring is always, the standard way of monitoring is sitting in front of the computer and managing. I don't really speaking, that is not the way to work in the long term. What will happen is that a single platform, single interface, as far as the person who is monitoring is concerned, if we give him a single, window, a single, content to manage. And most importantly, we need to define what we want. And accordingly, the alerts and the, the warning messages should be set up in a way wherever you are, whatever is the time, I should keep continuing, because, we can always monitor during the daytime. Unlike the BPOs and IT companies, we may not have the luxury of monitoring 24 hours, whereas the customers may be working and the usage of the system will happen 24 hours. So we should rely more on the technology, the messages, notifications that come using by setting up certain things. And of course, if we can have a single front end for monitoring the multi-cloud environment, that would be the best situation. If it requires we developing certain front end on our own, would we consider? Or a third party who could have such a facility or such a technology which can give me the single window management capability would be of the upgrade.
So I totally agree with Mr. Pujari that so what I'm doing is how to manage is any services I will giving it as a managed service to the cloud, whereby there will not be any gap on that. At the same time, so all alerts in different time, because we know these peak hours we definitely will reach to that CPU and the whole process will reach to X. So in this time it will be allowable if it is going likewise this will help us to scale that system also, to understand that what has to be done, what is our current performance, alert and threshold setting, and fully managed by that the service provider. This is the way I used to manage my environment, whereby it's working fine till date.
So, I would like to add is, yes, 100% managed services are the way to go. But somewhere I feel that I have strong personal gut feeling that, you should build your own internal capabilities as well, in spite of relying completely on the managed services partner. Of course, these are purely my personal views, maybe not liked by, I'm not talking of Vilas or Suresh, but it's not been accepted, but I have a gut feeling that you should have internal capabilities. So tomorrow, see, managed service tomorrow also, end of the day, they are also human beings, no? They can also fail. So this is somewhat like a failover mechanism. That's what I would like to add here.
See, the problem is, I know in-house resource, again, managed service. So the cost is too high. That's the result. We totally rely on managed. Management, they will take care of it. Yeah, you are right. But on our resource, you have to train and skills people, with us also.
Absolutely. There are pros and cons in both angles. And it's always now, whatever topic is like a hybrid model of multi-cloud, it's always has to be MSS plus in-house, a hybrid combination where accountability lies with the organization and the responsibility is distributed for the managed service. That sometimes helps a lot. Great thoughts shared by, with the different angles by all three of you. So I think since I'm learning from many years from different industry, experts and veterans, one of the key elements I've heard from some of the experts is that if I have a limited budget and I have to invest in something first, I'll invest in business continuity and incident response, because that is the ask of an hour, because business needs to run continuously, right? So incident response plays a vital role when optimizing performance and for a resiliency, of course, right? So to have a good DR in place, right? After having, say, you have a 3 different cloud environment, then you need to again have a DR for them, right? It may be a challenge, it may be an advantage. So any one of you wants to speak on the DR side, how to implement, what are the different key elements needs to be considered while having a DR for multi-cloud?
See, DR, when it is subject, we can think of in 3 ways. One is DNS level failover. Other one is we can rely on the cloud providers infrastructure failover. Third one is the middleware. For example, VMware itself is having that, the content. Suppose, we can extend this VMware to multiple provider, so that, the virtual environment itself will take care of that. It's all dependent on, but in my environment, I am totally relying on the DNS failover. So that's the way I am dealing with that.
See, but my perspective would be, most of, as of now, at least we are, I'm talking about ours, my experience in previous company and in this company where I'm working. We have not yet moved the critical in ERP kind of infrastructure to cloud yet. And hence the DR to that extent is not very critical. However, since our many of the connecting to our customers, sites or customers connecting to our, our site, our ERP to collect certain data related to stock and all are very important connectors, and they are, their applications are also on cloud. It becomes very important for us to have a DR setup in place. We right now have only the DR for our ERPs everything. Rest of the things are right now managed through a backup and a copy on cloud kind of situation. And whenever there is any problem, it's a more of a manual intervention. Right now we are managing through that, but we are yet to move to a automated DR, a full DR setup. Yeah, we have to go there. So we'll not be able to comment much on that.
So, in our business, what happens, our critical businesses like our enterprise ERP and our CRM, they are all on cloud and managed by the OEMs. For example, we are completely under Microsoft stack. So that there is not much of a role. We have even adopted modern workplace of Microsoft. So that also has been taken care of for our file print data, which is there, which is on cloud. The only challenge what we faced is your historical data, which we have, say, last 20 years data, which every organization has. That only has been kept on premises. And that, as Vilas has said, so we have NAS also, and we have an automated backup. So that is how we are managing our DR. So in our industry, in our business, we are pretty much safe, and those historical data also, that also is being accessed, like once or twice in a month. So not that critical as of now,
Sure. Suresh.
Yeah, I totally agree on that. You don't need to keep everything on DR. I mean, what is, the needed for right now, frequently used, business critical, be kept in DR things. Other than things, everything can be on-prem. So we are also following the same strategy, archival and all will happen and in the local on-prem. So only the live data.
We have been hearing this all regulatory requirements, privacy requirements, GDPR, right? And there has been so many different questions. In fact, recently SEBI have came up with not recently, few months before, SEBI have came up with some guidelines on the data and the accountability will lies with the organization, even you're opting for SaaS, right? And there are a lot of different regulations will keep coming. We heard from certain guideline about the government entities as well, which recently came. Right? So it will keep coming. So what are your thoughts? How will you manage a data privacy angle with the multi-cloud kind of environment by keeping the performance optimized and having a good resilience? Can you talk about the challenges?
Yeah, but challenges will always be there when we are talking, large populated country like ours. That is one thing. And today, if you ask Aadhaar card, everybody has everybody's Aadhaar card. So, what are we talking about privacy? It's difficult to implement on a government basis, or forget about the government also. As of now, if we are talking from organization perspective also, when proper law is not defined, and how do you define a law? It's not only government's responsibility, It's the corporates who have to join hands with government and come out with this privacy policy. So that definitely, that issue will stay for a longer period. That is why where RBI or government is not able to come out with privacy law like how GDP and other countries. That is what is my
great insight, Sandeep sir. Thanks for that. A great message. Thank you. Yes, sir. Over to you.
Yeah, actually, frankly speaking, my, since it's an organization, my patient data is still on-prem, only rest all of that. So we have not yet moved our patient and our data to cloud side. So due to that, still we are not thought of that, moving that part to security point of view.
Sure. Sandeep sir.
Look, see, data, the biggest is the threat is the internal threat here. How much ever you keep, whether it is on cloud or whether it is on premises, that threat will always be there. And as again, it again percolates down to the law only here. How much law we have, that what we can do to an employee, and what laws we have outside the purview of our organization. So that risk will always be there here. At least I have failed to find any solution to that as of.
But at least when it is on-premise, the secure roles, responsibility, accountability, kind of little bit control is there. When I'm moving the data to the, definitely you have to trust the partner and you have to trust the ecosystem, and definitely. But still, we felt that level of confidence has not come to us. That's the reason, we took a call. I mean, that's all.
Very true, sir. Very true.
True, absolutely. So we'll move on to the maybe last couple of points, and then we'll take one of the case study from any one of you. So identity and access management plays a vital role, right? Let it be on-prem or anywhere, right? But how it is going to improve the performance and resiliency when we define the cloud strategy or the multi-cloud environment? Identity and access management, what role it plays into the same?
It is like, whether it is as Mr. Sandeep right, he said, whether it is on-prem or cloud. I mean, it's applicable, everywhere. It is important. I mean, as a, no way differentiation. I mean, you have to follow that same thing in on-prem as well as the cloud. I mean, it's an extension of our workload. We are doing that. The same thing has to be and after.
Absolutely.
We have not yet implemented the identity management systems. We are still discussing. So and it's also not so critical in our case.
Sure.
Yeah, the same here also. It is absolutely not critical in our business as well. But still, like just to keep a threat to the internal users, somewhere you have to keep that identity access managed, that somebody is watching what you are doing, or there are logs are being maintained. So at least, you have some level of authenticity to catch hold of that, to show that to see what you have done here. So first level, you can say only level 1 we can handle.
Absolutely agree with you. I mean, it's very essential to define the RESI metrics first and then define the role-based access to authorize users on maybe on need-to-know basis. There will be 10 different technologies can play a role. There can be awareness also will play a role. There can be also monitoring will play a role. So there are different combination 360-degree angle needs to be into the particular framework, which will help. So what we can do, we can now move to the last phase, which is like, I need your thoughts, and with complete experience, what do you need to talk about to conclude this session of the performance and the resilience about the multi-cloud. So
that time that multi-cloud was not that whenever we are running any campaign, any offer, that the flight people used to hit that server rigorously, and so we were unable to manage that load. That time, what we used to do, that in that virtual environment, we used to keep more servers been ready, and we will add as and when the load is increased. This earlier it was a manual. So, and lot of resources used to kept idle. So now, because of this multi-cloud and all options are available, so if it is that this today's situation, we could have saved a lot of money, and we used to spend a lot of night in that office to create the multiple instances to keep it ready. So now, because of the multi-cloud and because of this things, we are able to achieve on what business needs, in a timely, spring the server quickly. That's the way I feel that, it's definitely a multi-cloud, option, adoption is very fit to right now. I mean,
sure. Absolutely. Sandeep?
For whether, of course, honestly, this is the topic of multi-cloud, whether it is multi-cloud or single cloud. Customer is the first, business is first. Whatever satisfies them based on your industry, how it generates revenue, then if there are multi-cloud or 3 clouds, everything is acceptable.
Well said. Yeah, Vilas, sir.
Okay, so what I was talking about is, of course, the engagement with the business in terms of what is the requirement. The requirement definition is very, very important, and the nature of the business, understanding nature of business, how the connected partners, customers, your end users are likely to behave. That should be the starting point. Second, of course, is the budget. What you get is what you pay for. So that's what we have to educate our business as to this is what you're going to get if you pay this. And if you want the best of the customer experience, this is what it is going to cost. Having got the budget, you should talk to vendors, and since now there is a good amount of competition there, and there are good amount of possibilities of optimizing the combination of the cloud setup within a particular service provider, or using a combination of multiple service providers, you would be able to achieve the objective in a much lesser budget than you actually have planned for. And then it's very, very important to worry about security and the dependability of the partner. Security in terms of the data security, the background and history of the cloud service provider, and the service provider's ability in terms of his ability to provide the services properly. And as the last but not the least is the monitoring the services in a proper manner by using a combination of alerts plus a manned monitoring mechanism.
Absolutely. So what I'll do, I'll just have noted down some keywords while you guys were talking. So I'll go one by one. I'll just summarize those points quickly, and then probably we can go for introduction. I think or probably we'll summarize the particular topic. So Suresh sir, I've discussed a lot of different, have given a different insights and a different view from his industry expertise, and he have used some keywords like workload, then you have to understand a business need, then manage services, volumes, numbers, we need to understand to have the right alerts configured and the responses on that, right? Like checkup of the systems and the servers. Going ahead at DR, they have talked about ES, talked about DNS, failover, middleware, PHI, he's spoken about personal healthcare information, RASI metrics, confidence, the crisis of confidence which is happening across the globe with respect to the data, and the extensions towards the particular business, and at the end, again, client. Sandeep sir have talked about a business continuity, then what is going to impact to the clients, right? The historical consumptions, budget, business plan, benchmarking, right? Different assessment needs to be done, performance calculation with the whatever KPI, KCI. Then we have to discuss about the capabilities and the maturity, right? Again, at the end, the corporate needs to understand, and it is their responsibility as well, to help government to define different privacy laws, and they have to adopt in a different way, right? Humans need to be aware about that, again, at the end, plans. And Vilas sir have talked about, started with scalability. He has discussed about how to absorb this stress, right? The infrastructure plays a vital role. How to define the DC, then the capacity management, the contracts are important, the NDAs and the language is important over there. What is the requirement? It's the first step to understand or to define anything, any strategy. Endpoints also plays a vital role, even if it is a multi-cloud requirement, right? Integration plays has to be defined in a way that, it gives you a single pane, right? And to monitor, and in a single window. Privacy, data privacy laws, or you can detain processing data in transit, and again the clients. So these are some keywords I could mention, but of course, thank you very much, Suresh sir, Sandeep sir, and Vilas sir, for joining this panel. Goes to ODU.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
For more updates from CXO TV, please like and subscribe to our channel.